Hey everybody, Tom Darling here, and today on Maker Logic we're going to turn an old oak entertainment center into a really nice rustic modern storage cabinet from all my wife's crafting. So stick around and I'll show you how we can take this old outdated piece of furniture and instead of getting rid of it, spend a little bit of money and turn it into something really cool. We've had this bookshelf for many years. It's a 5-foot by 6-foot oak entertainment center. My wife stores all of her crafting in it. As you can see here, it's got 3 shelves on the top with this oak face frame around the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this oak face frame off of there and we're going to skin the sides with plywood. So the best thing to do to start is we need to find ourselves an edge like that at the edge up there where I can take and use a pry bar, small little pry bar, and a hammer, and we can start taking this off. So I work my way all around the entire shelf, pull the nails and the frame out in one piece. Then I've got the finished plywood of the original shelf ready to go, and I prep it down, get it nice and smooth, so we can apply the new face frame. Now I'm starting with cutting down my pine boards that I'm going to use for the new face frame down to 2-inch wide, or actually 1.5 inch wide face frame boards. So we'll cut these down, get them to size, and then come to length. Then we're going to measure the distance of the existing frame, and then we're going to transfer that information onto the new boards that I've just cut, so that I can make sure that the sizes are going to be appropriate and that everything's going to line up with the existing openings on the cabinet. I'm going to put pocket holes in every single end, and that's how we're going to attach this frame together. So we got pocket holes in every single piece, and now we're just going to start screwing it together. This is a one camera shot, so I apologize when my arm gets in the way. But we'll get them all 4 corners together. We'll transfer our marks to the horizontal pieces, screw those together. And after we have our horizontal pieces all together, we'll start putting our verticals in. We'll line them up exactly where the lines were for our original shelf, our original face frame. And then we'll take our 1/8 inch piece of plywood, and this is maple plywood, and we're going to put glue and nails and brad nails on the side of the cabinet. Now you can get a sheet of this plywood for about $25, $27. We're also going to apply glue to the existing face frame, or the existing frame of the cabinet that I took the old face frame off of. And then we're going to take our face frame, our new face frame, line it up, and we're going to put brad nails in it and attach it to the cabinet. Now we're going to cut the frames for the doors. I'm making a 2-inch wide frame for all the doors, and we're cutting these out of cedar. The cedar is going to provide a nice detail that'll lay on the pine. Now also what I've done is I've cut a channel with my dado on my table saw, an 1/8 inch wide, to accept our plywood panels that we're going to do inside these shaker style doors. As you can see, I use pocket holes on these as well. Going to glue them together, going to glue the corner together, and we're going to take our panel that we've pre-cut, and we're going to put the other 2 pieces on after we get the panel in the middle. And then once we screw it all together, we've got a door. Here we got the first 3 doors, and as you can see, we've got pocket holes and then the panel in the middle. We'll put hinges on them, and they'll go on the top hole. Right on. Now I'm making the middle doors when I'm using pallet wood and an insert here. So I've made the frame like a typical frame, and I've got two horizontal pieces. They go across the back. Now what we're going to do to cut the holes for the hinges on these doors is we're going to use the Craig hidden hinge, European hinge template adapter. This is a really cool tool. What you do is here you adjust these two little stops based on the millimeters that you want to have away the hinge from the door. We're going to use 3 millimeters for the edge of the door. And then we got this nice little piece. This little piece has got the blade, it's got the bit, the Forstner bit, plus this twist and adjust inside of the hinge unit of the template. So once you get this lined up where you want it, you simply just twist this into the edge, and then the stop on it allows the hinge, the hole, to be cut with the depth, exactly the depth you want. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to cut the holes for these hinges on these doors, and then we're going to get the doors up. Now just a note that I have sanded all of these doors down. So I line it up on the 0 mark, start drilling my hole, clean out the sawdust, and then I'll duplicate that up on the top now. And now we'll take this off and we'll use these 2 guide holes for our pilot holes. Now we'll dry fit the hinge, make sure the hinge fits in the hole and the pilot holes line up. And then I'll put screws into those pilot holes to screw the screws and the hinges directly into the door. Test them out, and we'll get them put on. So we're going to put the top 3 doors up first. Now lining these doors up is not that hard of an issue if you use something to hold it up. I used my long level clamp for the cabinet. And then of course what I did is I screwed those hinges into the face frame along the edge of the door, or the edge of the cabinet, and made a nice straight even set for those doors. Now we're going to do the same thing for these doors. Notice I used a different hinge on these doors because of the weight of the doors, and also where the frame on the back of the door sits. The European cup hinge doesn't work very well in that. On the bottom I'll do the same. Don't really have room for the level down at the bottom, so what I did is I shimmed it up. Using 1.5 inches, I actually ended up using my tape measure as my stop for the door. And got them all lined up and got them put together. And we'll put the last door up there. Now I've sanded all the doors, sanded all the face frame before applying all these. Just an FYI. So now all that's left to do is to put Danish oil on this, get it finished up, and then maybe some hardware. We haven't decided on what kind of hardware we want on it yet, but at this point, everything looks great. The Danish oil is just going to basically make the finish match our bed and match the other cabinet that we have up here that I built before in a previous video. If we use some hardware, we may use hardware like we used on my mother-in-law's TV cabinet, which you can click right up here and see that video. All we got in this right now, as far as price, is roughly about 50 bucks. We paid $29 for the plywood. I paid another $20, $25 for the cedar that we used to cut for the door frames. I had the hinges already, but you can get the hinges pretty cheap. As far as the hardware goes, if you put hardware on something like this, you're going to spend probably anywhere from $2 to $3 or $4 per handle, which could add another 50 bucks. So when it all comes down to it, by the time we put oil on it, put hardware on it, we're going to be running about $100 to do what we did to convert this old oak cabinet into a new rustic modern cabinet with doors on it. It was just a bookshelf before. Many of you have these old entertainment centers, And as you saw before in the video, all we did is we skinned the two sides. We took the face frame off, built a new face frame out of cedar and actually pine for this face frame. And then we built doors that we actually put on and used the tools to do it with. So not a bad way to convert an old TV entertainment center into a new storage cabinet of the rustic modern type. So if you like what we're doing, stick around. We're going to put some finish on this and call it a day. And we will see you in the next video. Take care.